What if one of the most impactful decisions of your life isn't made in your youth, but after 60? I can tell you firsthand that this past year has taught me more than the previous 3 decades combined. It's an accelerated journey of self-discovery, challenging my long-held beliefs and completely reshaping my understanding of what meaningful living is all about. Welcome to Fullness of Life. I'm Joyce Li. I'm so glad that you are here with me today. At 66, I wear many hats. I'm a mother of 4 grown children, a grandmother of 4 children, a PhD candidate just 3 months from graduation, a full-time project management consultant. I am also a proud wife and a daughter to my amazing 94-year-old mother, and a retired psychotherapist with a decade of counseling experience. My journey has taught me that rich life experience isn't about accumulating or achieving a whole lot of stuff. It is about how you live. If you are seeking to embrace a life that reflects your true self, join me here. This is your grandma's guide to the fullness of life, built on the foundations of simple living, radical authenticity, and unwavering resilience. In this episode, I am excited to share with you my top 3 key learnings, from this transformation journey from the past year. And you'll definitely want to stick around until the end, where I'll share some deeply personal reflections on overcoming the most challenging part of this journey. Let's get started. I've learned to honor the inner voice. Sometimes it feels like a gentle whisper that keeps reminding me that I don't have to follow the conventional paths. I can choose to do what is important to me. Here comes my first lesson. I can live independently and explore places I want to visit. Moving to Squamish, away from the everything that is familiar stage, was a direct response to that inner voice urging me to explore the west coast of Canada. I found profound joy and sometimes a little apprehension in navigating this new town, hiking the serene trails under the mountains, and discovering the simple rhythm of living entirely on my own terms without owning a whole lot. I felt like a teenager again, going away for an exciting gap year, exploring and soaking in new experiences. That's where my mind is at. Well, Squamish is an English adaptation of the original indigenous word. This is truly a place where mountains meet the sea and ancient waters flow beside the modern trails. Loosely translated, Squamish means the mother of the wind and people of the sacred water. The Squamish nation have lived and thrived here 9,000 years, forging a resilient culture and powerful connection to the lands and waters around this beautiful area. I wondered why I waited so long to listen to that quietest, most truthful part of myself. Lesson number 2 is that I can continue to work after 65. Yay! Society often advertises that 65 means retirement, a slowing down period, or disengaging from professional activities. You're supposed to rest, relax, and enjoy leisure. Well, but a small, quiet voice within me insisted otherwise. It was a yearning for continued contribution, for the satisfaction of applying decades of experience rather than simply putting my feet up. I do mix the period of production, the period of learning, and the period of having leisure. I combine all those together. A conversation I had with a late family friend, his name is Mr. Leung. This conversation still stays in my heart. Mr. Leung worked for the Hong Kong government for over 30 years. He retired in his early 60s. When we spoke, he was 92 years old. but still going strong, and he has a very sharp mind. I know when I ask him things about the ancient China history, he was able to explain to me in such a vivid manner. It's so engaging, and I wish he was one of my history teachers a long time ago. And I wasn't very good with Chinese history, but he did a very good job educating me just in that few lines of conversation. And how did he enjoy his retirement life was what I explored with him. He told me that during the first few years, it was exciting because he was still relatively young and able, and he traveled with his wife to many faraway places, places that he wished he would go, and now he actually did visit. And he would visit friends that separated from long time ago. So he visited these friends and they have a good time catching up and all that. Now these long overseas trips take him a few years, and then he said he ran out of places to go. And friends that he used to visit, you can't go every year and bother their lives because they're busy as well. He spent his time in his apartment studying and reading, and he showed me his bookcase. It was full of books that are very dense and a lot of information there. And I wish I have the time to plow through all that. But he studied all of them and he shared with me insights that he learned. He sounds so excited about what he learned. And I asked him, is there anything that stood out about this period of your life, Mr. Leung? He told me, I've been retired longer than my whole career. It's true because he retired for over 30 years and he only worked for 30 years. And who knows how many more years he had. He was 92 at that time. He said, if I have known that I would live this long, I would have started something when I retired. I would have started a consulting business about teaching young people about how to navigate life to be an engineer. Or I would go back to teach in a university about ancient Chinese wisdom. Yeah, he was right. He could have contributed a lot because of his knowledge and his enthusiasm about history. Well, I've learned these key points, and I realize that sometimes it is only through reflection that you can recall all those, and when you look back and you gain these wise insights. This is not new because in project management, especially in agile projects, we introduce something called the retrospective ceremony every few weeks. We take time to reflect on what went well, what didn't go well, and what challenges that we will face in the future, and what lessons can we apply to those challenges. So for me, I did a little retrospective on my past year, and I realized physically my strength hasn't been too bad, even though I'm 66. Now, mind you, I'm not a very athletic person. Even in my youth, I like to sit down and do all those hobbies. I led a very sedentary lifestyle. I sat down most of the time because of my work. I need to be in front of the computer. My hobbies, I love to read, I love to sew, I like to knit sweaters, and I also like to play the guitar and sing songs. So all those activities require me to sit down and do those things. And walking the trails is good, and riding my bike is radical. So I've been doing that. I just picked that up in the past year, and it was good. And I did some swimming here and there. So I feel that physically, I don't think there's a lot of decline. It was just my normal self. And thank God for having that. I also hope that this will stay for another 10 years at least. Now, cognitively, I realize that my ability has not shrinked. Rather, my cognitive skills have actually increased. Maybe that's what psychologists call crystallized intelligence. Because at this point of my life, it's like a melting pot. I have so much experience gained, and I continue to learn and grow. And all those combined together makes it so worthwhile, makes my brain expanded. So cognitively, I feel fine and I feel even stronger than before. So, my motivation, let's talk about that. I'm not sure about other people, but for me, I still have this ambition. I want to continue to grow and I want to continue to make an impact to society because I realize there are so many areas that we need to improve on in order to make this world a better place. There are so many things that we are doing, we are going in the wrong direction, such as the sustainability and ecological economics. We were taught about capitalism, but at this stage, the capitalism, if you look back, now what's happening to this world? Yes, rich neighbor of the global north is enjoying their life and we have so much abundance. However, looking at the other side of the world, they're not as fortunate and sometimes innocent people are paying the price of the comfort of our life here. So the whole point about consumption and keeping economic growth, it is not working. So there's so much more we can do to implement something called intentional degrowth and have a post-growth agenda rather than this perpetual capital gains and economic growth. So I felt that I'm motivated to learn more and as well as influencing others so that we can make a bigger impact and influence the politicians and decision makers so that we can make systemic change to improve injustice as well as the unfair treatment of certain people, as well as sharing this wealth with the global south. Well, I feel free to create a life on my own terms. And that's the freedom and motivation that I find has not changed, even though I'm this age. Now, the retrospective helped me understand that I am living a meaningful life every day. And what went well is that I am living every day with no regrets because I realize I have no time to waste. If I want to do certain things, if I want to experience certain outcome, I need to act now. Now that leads me to the third lesson. I can go back to graduate school in my 60s. Have you heard of that? The idea of going back to graduate school in my 60s to obtain a PhD felt utterly outlandish, even rebellious, especially learning about the average dropout rates of PhD students. That is about 50% dropout, meaning 1 in 2 PhD students never graduates. Though being the oldest student in class most of the time, I'm okay. I'm intellectually stimulated by the conversations in the classroom, by the younger cohort, the middle-aged folks, as well as people like me. Well, an extra perk that I gain from going back to school, I pay half the tuition because my school honor senior discount for people over 60. So there you go. I've taken 9 graduate courses that prepare me for this final dissertation stage. My thesis focuses on the connection between minimalist lifestyle and human flourishing. Despite the odds, the challenging juggle of life and rigorous studies, I am proud to say that I completed all the major milestones and now I'm looking forward for my final thesis defense in a few weeks' time. I can attest that the mind's capacity for growth has no age limit. Now, reflecting on this journey, there are some unseen costs. Now, reaching these incredible milestones, embracing the individual independent exploration, continuing a fulfilling career at 65, and diving back into graduate school in my 60s. All these 3 major steps wasn't smooth sailing without its bumps. Each of these learnings demanded significant effort, as you can imagine. It took persistence when the path felt uncertain, and it takes diligence, complete diligence, in attending to the countless details, and require consistent effort day in and day out to make them a reality. Well, I'll tell you my secret or my habit. I usually carve out 20 hours per week for personal development activities. As you know, I work full-time, so my 9 to 5 is blocked to my employer. I dedicate my time for them, And then every day, other than picking up groceries, eating, and resting, I carve out 2 hours per day at least during the workday to do my content creation stuff, plan my episodes, do my reflection, continue on my thesis, brush up on my writing skills, learning through different books and stuff like that. And then during the weekend, I put in longer hours, 5 to 6 hours on the weekend to do those activities that I just mentioned. So in that, if you add up all those hours, you develop a personal growth agenda. So that's how it works for me. There are moments of doubts. Some logistical hurdles do happen, such as a family friend will call you on WhatsApp saying, "Hey, I'm visiting Vancouver. Can I drop by Squamish to visit you?" Of course they can. I welcome them, and I love to cook a wonderful meal together with them and share. The sheer discipline of balancing so much require that level of precision. I need to carve out time for those unplanned activities, and it's still very important. But I want to share one of the most difficult part of all of this. The aching of my heart of missing my husband, my mom, my children, and my grandchildren is very difficult. Not being able to see them every day or even every week has a heavy weight on my heart. Part of me felt guilty, and part of me felt extremely selfish. I felt that I'm abandoning all of them, pursuing these personal dreams so intensely. Well, that's only part of me saying it, but the other part is yearning for freedom and authenticity and pursuing what I love. So that's the truth about living a full life. It often requires us to lean into these challenges, including the emotional ones, knowing that what's on the other side is worth the consistent efforts and the sacrifices made. If I didn't take that big leap, I wouldn't have enjoyed this part of the journey. And I think it's one of the thing about living with no regrets. Then I'm answering the call in my teenage years that I would love to explore the west coast of Canada, not as a tourist, but I want to live there and experience it. So even it may be for 1 year or 2, I still cherish this opportunity. Understanding that prioritizing your own growth can ultimately enrich everyone around you. Don't you think that's possible? I think so, because if I get more fulfilled and I understand more about myself and what living a meaningful life is all about, I'm sure I can enrich people through my interactions with them. And I'll tell you another thing. Through this journey, I also realized I want to take the benefit of the counseling services my full-time employment provides. So I went back to counseling on my own, is taking my self-growth into my own hands. I visited a counselor recently, and I want to work on some personal issues that I'm still struggling about. I can share with you about those next time. It's important to carve out time to make sure that your life is in balance, because there are so many psychological and emotional baggage that we brought along with us since childhood that will come back and haunt us if we haven't dealt with them. And for the longest time, I thought I have dealt with them. But the fact and some comments I received from the people around me told me otherwise, meaning I still have things to work on. I can still improve myself to bringing to awareness and practicing strategies to smooth out those rough edges. Very well. Now, this is your turn now. Has there been a time when you dared to step off the conventional path and honor that quiet voice within you? Share your experience in the comments below. Your courage might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to start their own journey. Thank you for tuning in, and I love to see you next time.